And I'm not talking about the Muslims over here, I'm talking about the non-Muslims. There are many people in the West that actually believe that religion is pacifism. You see, Christianity is a pacifistic religion. It's not a religion of war. And therefore, anything that has to do with war is irreligious. You see, this is how the thinking process goes. Jesus said, love those who revile you. Do good to those who hate you. Turn the other cheek. And these are the thoughts that come about when people think of a religious ideal. They think of Jesus. They think of the Passion, for instance. One American writer described it as watching Rocky, where Rocky never hits back. So that's the ultimate form of pacifism. I mean, they're whipping you, they're torturing you, they're nailing you to a cross, and there's absolutely no resistance. Well, this is a religious image in the minds of many Western people. And therefore, when they see religious people actually defend themselves, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابُهُمَ الْبَغْيُ هُمْ يَنْتَصِرُونَ. Those who, when oppression afflicts them, they defend themselves. أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى نَصْرِهِمْ لَقَدِيرٌ. That there's permission has been granted to those who are oppressed, who have been persecuted. Because they're oppressed, permission's been granted for them to fight, to defend themselves. I mean, these are Quranic verses. وَقَاتِلُهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةً. And fight them until there's no fitna. I mean, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. You fight in the way of Allah. الَّذِينَ يُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِهِ بِأَنفُسِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. So this is the religious view that is rejected in the West. But that rejection is actually a fallacy in the minds of very shallow, superficial people that know nothing of their own tradition. They know nothing of their own tradition. Those people that see religious people defending themselves are rejecting a foundational principle in every single religion, including Buddhism. In one of Buddhist texts, because everybody associates Buddhists with pacifists. I mean, the Buddhists say, don't just do something, sit there. So Buddhism is the ultimate pacifistic religion. The Buddhist tradition, they actually say in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, Nirvana, I think they pronounce it down in southern India, that the Buddha says, in polluted, distorted societies, after my extinction, when nations are wasted and chaotic and plundering and robbing one another, there will be famine among the people. So this is like prophecies of the end of time. At that time, there will be many who will ambitiously become monks on account of hunger. These people will be nothing but bad men who drive out any moral, dignified, pure renunciants they see, even killing or maiming them. For this reason, I now permit people, so he's saying this 3,000 years ago, I now permit people who uphold the religious precepts to be accompanied by armed laymen. If rulers, officials, grandees, or laymen bear arms for the sake of protecting religion, even though they bear arms, they are said to be upholding the precepts of the Buddha. And that's in an authoritative Buddhist text. So it's very clear that the Buddha allowed for protecting yourself. If you look at the Christian religion, there are indications in the gospel. Do you have a sword? No. Let he who hath not a sword sell his garment and purchase a sword. Then Peter, when he raises his sword, as the men are coming in, he said, he who takes up the sword will die by the sword. I mean, that could be interpreted as a strategic, because Peter was going to spread his mission after him. That could have simply been a strategic, don't use the sword, we're outnumbered. And intelligent people, when they're outnumbered, usually don't commit suicide, because suicide is haram in all of the Abrahamic faiths, right? In fact, in Islam, the ulama actually have a debate about a person who's burning on fire, whether or not it's permissible to throw themselves into a well, because they're going to die anyway from the fire, to throw themselves into the well to kill themselves, to remove the pain. There's actually a debate about that. So even when death is absolutely certain, and there's a way of getting out of it. The ulama, many will say, even in that situation, it's absolutely not permitted. So here's an example from Buddhism. In Christianity, St. Augustine, who's one of the earliest theologians, writing in the late 4th and early 5th century, St. Augustine developed the just war theory that permitted Christians to defend themselves. And he gave certain conditions, that it was a just cause, that there was proportionality. In other words, that you used the amount of force that was needed to remove whatever threat it was and did not exceed that. And then obviously that non-combatants weren't killed, these type of things. So Christianity is filled with St. Thomas Aquinas, in his writings, goes into great detail about Christian warfare. And in fact, the Christians outlawed the crossbow because they considered it cruel and unusual. But they only outlawed it for the inter-Christian warfare.